Okay, we're going to install a 2.8 to 12 millimeter lens, variofocus, macro focusable lens that's going to allow you to get wide angle view and narrow angle views, all by dialing it in. Now you want to take out the 4 screws in the back, peel off the label that's on the back, and after you've peeled off the label, set it off to the side. It's a little sticky back there, but it comes off okay. I pull it apart, and then there's 2 screws that need to be loosened on that side by the HDMI jack, and then 1 other screw in the middle over on the other side. Okay, take the screws out, pull off the lens hood there. Now, sometimes you need a heat gun, but most of the time you don't. You just over tighten it a little bit and then come back counterclockwise and unthread it. Coated pliers work real well. Now what you want to do after you get the lens out, we like to modify the front case and push out that black bezel ring, which you just set it upside down on its face and it snaps right out. You can glue it back in if you ever want to put it back to stock, but to make this 2.8 to 12 fit, you have to remove this part so it opens up the width of it. Now you want to make sure that when you use a little nipper tool, you start on a little bit of an angle. Don't go straight down. You want a side cut. And if you have the special tool from us right now, then it makes the job real easy. It's the best one we found that will do it easily and successfully every time. So we want to trim it right down to the circuit board, make it nice and even. Make sure you don't snap off any circuits that are next to it in the meantime. So just trim it down as good as you can so it's nice and level. It's got to be level. If it's not level, then the lens will be unbalanced and your video will have soft edges. So now that we have it all trimmed down nice, we want to air dust it really good and blast it really clean inside there with an air duster. We're going to remove all the debris that has fallen on the CMOS sensor from the clipping we did. Now if you still notice there's some debris on the sensor after you've air dusted it, you can gently wipe it away with a Q-tip, and if it still doesn't come off that easy, then you can use some Windex on a Q-tip, and that'll work absolutely beautiful for you and clean it up real nice without damaging it. We're going to put it back together, put the screws in the same way that you took them out. Now this mod is going to allow you to get views you've never been able to get before. It's kind of like an SLR effect. You can have stuff in front of you that's in focus, and then you can have stuff behind it, objects that are a little bit out of focus. So now I put the label back in. You can restore it to stock at any time just by, you can still use the original lens will still fit back in this shaft even though we did what we did to it. It might not fit quite as tight, but then you can use an O-ring gasket to secure the original lens back in. Okay, if you still want to use the GoPro housing, we recommend the skeleton housing. This way you have access to the HDMI port, USB port, video out. The lens will stick out from the front. So what we did, because it fits really tight, we used a little twisty tie, put it around the lens bezel, and then tightened it super tight. So this way, when we install the camera back inside of the housing, then you'll be able to actually turn the lens focus very easily by using this little lever we put on there. Now to install the lens while it's in the housing, you first have to put the camera in the housing. Okay, then we close it up. Now we thread the lens in counterclockwise just a little bit so it seats in the threads, and then go clockwise and tighten it just enough so it feels nice and snug. You don't want to over tighten it. Now, using that little twist tie we installed, we can change our focus, and we can also change our zoom. The focus you can't quite lock down, so if you're doing heavy vibration, you might not want to keep it in this waterproof case. You might want to use our cradle mount, which also uses a 1/4 inch 20 thread, and it fits around the camera. So now we have a lens cap protector that we are throwing in with this deal, and this allows you to use a filter with the 2.8 to 12 inside of the lens cap. This works out real nice if you're on a bright sunny day, and it keeps the lens protected from rocks and debris. I'll make sure the filter's nice and centered, and there you have it. Now you want to use the HDMI output cable to a LCD that's HD for the best focusing results. If you want to twist the lens back out to take the camera out, that's the only way to do it, is you have to remove the lens every time. So using our cradle will allow you to just tripod mount this, and then you don't have to remove it from the case every time.